Folks, thanks for coming on the line with us today. My name is John Dubas. I'm a Vice President for Agent Success with Premier Marketing, and we'll be spending the next 45 minutes or so going over an opportunity that awaits you in this upcoming annual election period, the open enrollment period, regarding Medicare supplement programs and cross-selling with additional programs that are available to you to fill other needs for your prospects and clients. This is an emphasis on the Medicare supplement portion of the opportunity we have this fall, since while AEP is commonly thought of as an opportunity for Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans, there are more Medicare supplements sold during this time period than any other point in time in the year as well. So it is, of course, an opportunity that awaits an individual all year round with Medicare supplements, but this is a period of great focus for choice, and it is the opportunity we have to go through and make certain that the plans that people have selected in the past are still in their best interest, and if not, offer them alternatives and additional means of satisfying their needs regarding their health care. So we'll spend a little time, just a very brief amount of time, speaking about Premier Marketing, who we are and what we offer. And then we'll go into Medicare supplements with the different plan types and an adjunct brief presentation on prescription drug plans, since many agents who offer Medicare supplement programs will also satisfy the need for the prescription drug needs of their clients as well. Some folks defer that business elsewhere. This is a system that can help you do that, however. And if you're not doing that, it's a great way for you to pick up additional revenue and close off doors into your clients' houses, and also give you another means of going into additional houses as well. And then we'll speak of the cross-selling opportunities that you have with other ancillary products, including hospital indemnity, critical illness and cancer plans, different dental programs that may be available, and then, of course, the need that we all have, and that is to take care of the final expenses that we have. Then we'll spend a bit of time speaking of the marketing opportunities our organization offers to put you in front of folks with this selling opportunity. A bit about Premier, a bit of background. We're a national marketing organization and insurance wholesaler founded in 1968. We're part of the Integrity Marketing Program with offices across the country. We provide independent insurance agents with contracts with carriers of need to help satisfy the coverage for their prospects and clients. And they are offered at the highest possible commission levels with recruiting contracts available for folks who qualify. As I mentioned, we were founded in 1968. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And we're one of the largest organizations in a number of facets. In the Medicare Advantage world, we're the largest producer of Medicare Advantage products for United Healthcare, Anthem, and Meridian Care, one of the top 5 producers with just about every other brand name that you would think of in the Medicare Advantage world. When you speak of the coverage that we have, we are all across the country with our platform partners. And the portfolio of programs that we offer is very large and covers the gambit of the senior marketplace, or the Medicare marketplace, including Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, and PDP programs, a full portfolio of life insurance and annuity and final expense, pre-need, long and short-term care programs, disability income, and those ancillary programs I alluded to earlier. When you look at the Medicare Advantage portfolio, it carries the weight of all those national programs and a number of the very strong regional programs as well, and a full portfolio of standalone prescription drug plans, and an incredible opportunity in the Medicare supplement world, which is the focus of our presentation today. We'll go into greater detail, not only with the carriers, but also the plan types that are available for you. So when we look at the Medicare opportunity as a whole, obviously, it's a burgeoning portion of the insurance world, and everyone speaks to the aging of the baby boomers and how over 10,000 people a day are aging into Medicare. When we speak of the Medicare world, however, not just that age segment comes into play, because we've got to consider about 1/6 to 1/7 of the Medicare population is disabled under the age of 65. So that gives us even greater opportunities in segments of the market. When we look at the Medicare supplement portion of it to apply to that disabled population, obviously in many states that limits their choices to certain plan types and is not as robust of an opportunity perhaps, but it is a segment that gives us additional people to speak to with perhaps other products to cover their needs as well. When we look at Medicare overall, we're looking at a couple of different segments of the Medicare world. When we look at the folks that remain on traditional Medicare administration with Medicare Parts A and B, we're looking at a market that is a target for all sorts of additional health care programs. Medicare Advantage plans, obviously, prescription drug plans stand alone and are also part of certain MA programs, not a lot of them anymore, but a certain segment of it. But they're a necessary adjunct for any Medicare supplement program, and that is a piece that really, really concentrates on the traditional administration of Medicare benefits through the contracted entities that CMS has in the different states on traditional benefit platforms. Some of the key differences that we see, obviously, are some of the applicable legislation and marketing conduct oversight. There are different rules that we have for Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans that don't come into play with traditional Medicare. And that includes certain marketing activities that many of us in the insurance industry grew up doing. Cold calling. Can't cold call for Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans. You sure can for Medicare supplement programs, save one carrier. There are additional opportunities you have to market Medicare supplement programs that go to face-to-face contact and different community activities and what is required of you when it comes to registration. If you're doing that with a Medicare Advantage or prescription drug plan or speak to them, you've got to register the event. If you're doing that with Medicare supplement programs, you don't. You can door knock with Medicare supplement programs. You don't dare do that with Medicare Advantage or prescription drug programs. So there's different sorts of oversight and regulations we have to follow depending upon the product type that we're offering, and we want to be right up front with that. There are also, of course, key differences in how the products work with traditional Medicare. In the Medicare supplement world, they basically pay based off of what CMS is paying as the base coverage. And the plans are designed and standardized based off of that. We'll go through that in greater detail in just a little bit. Whereas the Medicare Advantage programs, the person doesn't give up Medicare, but they are assigning the administration of those benefits to the independent insurance company that offers the Medicare Advantage programs. And so it's a different way of working through a more complete offering of benefits than traditional Medicare, but also a different billing system as well. With Medicare supplement programs, when we deal with enrollment periods, obviously a person can enroll in a Medicare supplement program any time of the year if they qualify for it medically. There are certain states also that offer a birthday rule where during the month of their birth they can change from one plan to another without medical underwriting, limited to very certain states, whereas in the Medicare Advantage world, you have an open enrollment period from October 15th through December 7th, a now switch period for the first 3 months of the year, and then a lock-in period for the remainder of the year with the opportunity to change programs if a person qualifies for a SEP, a special enrollment period. So a bit of a difference there when it comes to timing and the way the product works as well. And then, of course, there are differences in the licensing and certification as well. The licensing process with a lot of the Medicare Advantage plans require that certification be done as part of that process, and then an annual certification thereafter. Medicare supplement programs do not have that requirement. It's a base licensing contracting process like we see with many other areas in the insurance world, and only one carrier in the Medicare supplement world requires a certification, and that is AERP. So when we look at the different categories once again, and we deal with the Medicare population as a whole, one of the things that comes into play, obviously, is how a person deals with the premium that is associated with programs and the extra benefits they may need to be fully covered in a realistic sense. And by that I mean, if a person doesn't enroll in a Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan and they choose a Medicare supplement program, we need to make certain that they're aware of the procedures they need to go through in order to get drug coverage, and we need to be careful how we word that if we haven't gotten a scope of appointment before that decision process comes into play. There's also, of course, a segment of the population that is best handled by special needs plans in the Medicare Advantage world, and I'm referring to either the near poor or the poor, the folks that are dual beneficiaries or partial dual beneficiaries. Those folks are obviously generally not a target for Medicare supplement programs simply because of the premiums associated with those plans and the inability of that population to actually pay that premium. So something to consider in that circumstance as well. As we go into a new year in 2019, and it seems a bit premature as we're only in September, but some of the regulations on how we work moving forward into 2019 affect us that concentrate on the Medicare supplement world. And that includes the change of the MADP period, which basically goes away and is replaced once again by a switch period that many of us that started out in the Medicare Plus Choice world are very familiar with, and that is the initial quarter of the year, the months of January, February, and March, where a Medicare Advantage open enrollment period exists that gives an individual an opportunity to switch from one MA plan to another. They can't go from just Medicare base coverage and pick up a Medicare Advantage plan. They can only switch from one plan to another, but they can drop their Medicare Advantage plan and return to original Medicare and enroll in a Medicare Part D program without penalty. You also have the option as an individual, if you choose to just drop your prescription drug plan during that time period as well. Generally not advisable, but what this gives us in the Medicare supplement world is an opportunity to help additional individuals who are in that flux period, in a change period in January, February, and March, that look to go back to traditional Medicare and pick up a Medicare supplement plan. Keep in mind, they're dropping the MA plan during this time period. If they're doing it voluntarily and the plan continues to be offered in that service area, it does not create a period of guaranteed issue. So something very important for us to take into mind and make certain that we're handling the situation correctly. There are also additional quasi-Medicare Advantage programs, Medicare cost plans that are sunsetting and beginning in January of 2019 will no longer be available in a large portion of the country where those programs were available. You'll see some of them continue in very rural states, very rural population areas, but generally in areas where there are two Medicare Advantage plans, those cost plans are going to end. They will no longer be an option for folks, and that gives us a unique opportunity in the Medicare supplement world as well, because many of those folks are used to accessing care outside of the plan with traditional Medicare, and as they are transitioned into a more true form of Medicare Advantage plans that are network-based, they'll no longer have that sort of flexibility, and many of those folks will then look for and take advantage of some of the opportunities and advantages of a Medicare supplement plan that allows them to seek care wherever the provider accepts Medicare as base coverage. So some different things that comes into play in the different states across the country, Minnesota is most deeply affected by nearly 400,000 individuals that are going to either be mapped into a different Medicare Advantage plan offered by the carrier that had given them cost plan coverage, or have them seek other coverage. And what we're seeing in many of the states is it can be a fairly large opportunity. And in some of the areas, those individuals that have been in a cost plan don't have a Medicare Advantage alternative, and they may be a prime candidate for you when it comes to seeking Medicare supplement coverage. So we wanted to make you aware of some of those changes that are coming into play based on regulatory changes and based on changes brought about by plan coverage differences. When we look at Medicare supplements as a whole by themselves, obviously we're looking at plans that have been both standardized and modernized by the government. When we look at the standardized and modernized plans of the Medicare supplement programs that are available, these are the base programs that are available across the country, with the exception of 3 states that have their own sort of setup for the programs. But generally across the country, these are the patterns that come into play. And we see certain plans that we run into more often than others, even though we've got Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, Plan F, and Plan F high deductible, Plan G, Plan K, Plan L, Plan M, and Plan N. When you look at the offerings over the last few years, the plan choice that is most commonly written, or had been most commonly written, is the regular Plan F, which covered everything that wasn't covered by traditional Medicare and approved for services for traditional Medicare. Recent legislation is making that no longer an option for folks who don't fit certain circumstances. So Plan G has come really in vogue, and obviously the only difference is the coverage of the Part B deductible, and that's the piece that was addressed in the legislation. Previous administration felt that everyone covered by health insurance should have a little bit of skin in the game, and so they weren't allowing additional, or slated not to allow additional plans with full coverage. In many cases, as we'll demonstrate in just a moment, the cost difference for that Part B deductible, which in 2018 was a whopping $183, the premium slated with a Plan F to cover that $183 versus a Plan G was, well, it didn't make any sense fiscally to do that. Some folks, however, chose to simply say, I want everything covered, don't want to worry about anything, and the coverage cost, well, is not my primary concern. So something we'll demonstrate in just a moment. But as we look across the plan types that we have, you'll see that if a plan files in most of the states, they've got to make a program available for the disabled on Medicare that I referenced earlier, that 1/6 to 1/7 of the population. Generally, in most states, that plan that they offer in order to offer other programs to other individuals is the Plan A, which basically takes care of some basic benefits, including the 100% of Part B coinsurance. Not a lot of other coverage, tends to be fairly expensive for those individuals as well. The programs we see most frequently are the Plan Cs, as I mentioned, the Plan F and the Plan F high deductible, the Gs. Many of the carriers now write more G coverage than they do any other plan type. And we'll see a certain number of the Plan Ks with certain carriers and the Plan Ns. The Plan Ns in many circumstances will mirror some of the benefits, kind of like what we saw back in the old Medicare Advantage private fee-for-service type of programs that are no longer available in most areas. So something that comes into play with different plan choices that are available to us. And since the government is mandating that there is a need for certain things to come into play, we now have an opportunity to explain different plan choices and the opportunity to note of other standalone ancillary benefits that might help absorb those costs for our prospects and our clients as well. So what we're going to do now is basically go to the quote engine that is available for contracted agents with premier companies without additional cost for those agents. And that is access into the quoting tool that gives you a number of different options. And what we want to do with this today is demonstrate how those options can also include providing information on additional ancillary benefits, specifically a combination of programs that include hospital indemnity and dental programs, and then a lead-in for final expense programs as well. Next week, we're going to do a variant of this webinar speaking to using the ancillary products with Medicare Advantage plans. So something to consider. When we look at the different Medicare supplement programs, keep in mind, not every company or the companies aren't required to offer all plan types in all states. They can offer a subset of those programs. And so the availability of certain plan types will vary according to the carrier that comes into play. But I think it's best for us just to demonstrate some of the capabilities of this program and give you an idea of where programs are available and by whom. So let's look at, let's go into a North Dallas zip code. And obviously this is available to you with a contract through our organization. Access is granted to you very easily. And I got to tell you, if I can use this program, you can. Because right about now for demonstration programs, I've entered all the information we need for demonstration purposes. For specific Medicare supplement reviews, which is a great offering that you can provide with the use of this tool, obviously you'll want to adjust the age, whether it's a boy or a girl, and the plan type and effective date. Effective date is important in many circumstances because the majority of the carriers make their plans effective the first of the month. But also if you go out a couple of months, if there is a price increase slated with that carrier, it will be properly reflected in the calculations. It does give you the opportunity to label the illustration that you have, and that way you can manage the quotes that you've delivered in the past. Keep a file electronically or by paper for those of us that are still tactile and love the touch of paper. But it gives you in your client file what you had discussed in the past and what the client's preferences had been in previous conversations. Gives you an idea of, okay, is that zip code available in multiple counties? Generally the rate's the same, but we want to make certain that we do things properly, and then the different plan choices that come into play. One of the things that's very important to keep in mind when you're generating these quotes is if the individual lives alone or with another. Many of these carriers now will offer a household discount for folks that have another individual over the age of 18 living in the house with them in certain circumstances, even if they're not a policy holder. And so knowing those companies and some of those differences can make a substantial influence on the premium that we're quoting. So as we go through and we do a simple quote here on a Plan F, we're doing this as a baseline quote to make certain that we see, okay, this is a plan that's still available for folks that are are on Medicare and having their premiums deducted through Social Security, still available to them, and what are the premiums for these programs for someone aging into Medicare. You'll notice that certain carriers will pursue this segment of the population very aggressively, and some carriers will actually base the premiums of their programs on the marketing thought that they don't want a guaranteed claim with someone aging into Medicare, and so they'll phase some of their more aggressive premiums on a 67-year-old as opposed to a 65-year-old. So some different things that can come into play here for you. And you'll notice in North Dallas County here in North Texas, the premiums for a 65-year-old female are still fairly reasonable. And this being a program that covers all of the deductibles and coinsurance that are covered by Medicare and approved by Medicare, it doesn't really then bring about a need for additional benefits unless the person has a particular mindset for certain chronic illnesses or has had a history of going into the hospital, and they're mindful of the additional expenses that are incurred outside of the medical cost realm, the need for transportation and all the other things that come into play for a hospital stay. But one of the programs that is not covered by traditional Medicare or Medicare supplement programs deal with dental. And so this gives you an opportunity to add in dental programs, and I'll demonstrate that as we go into some of the different plan types with some of the hospital indemnity add-ons that you can use. So this gives you a baseline information as to a Plan F and current status in this particular market. This program does give you the ability to save that in a PDF, to print it, to save it in a Excel format. You can then also use the household discount and other discounts that may be available for that individual and see how that reflects upon that person's premium. You'll notice in this circumstance, $133.60 for Cigna. I'm pointing that out simply because when we apply the discounts, then all of a sudden that goes to $124. The discount isn't incredibly deep at this period, but it is something that we need to consider. This also gives you the opportunity to see if there are substantial discounts for an annual rate, and it also gives you market analytics. And this is really important because a lot of times when we do a consideration for our Medicare supplement population, we need to take into account how stable that premium is going to be year over year, because while we're more than willing and able to address an annual review for individuals, we want to obviously build a block of business that's stable without moving someone year over year. It gives us an opportunity to make a stable environment for our current customer base, but also gives us an opportunity then to be able to use that time for, instead of writing one person that we already have on the books and moving them from plan to plan year over year, have something stable for them and use that additional time to grow our book of business. This then gives you how that premium is slated on a general basis, so that we see that this is got a table for 65, 66, 67. The premium doesn't change. In 68, you can see a slight increase. This gives you an indication of if the plan's been available in a market for an appropriate amount of time, what their general rate increases have averaged. Keep in mind that medical trend is running double digits, depending upon the area of the country, somewhere between 10 and 14%. And for a plan to maintain their premium in single digits or below, or at a baseline coverage, we know that they are factoring in those additional increases of cost of care into their premium calculations, and we've got a stable company. This also gives you an opportunity to look at the market data that is in play and give you an idea of the size of the book of business. In many cases, this gives us an indication of if we got a strong book of business in this state or across the country, they can deal with different claims history more easily than companies that may be slightly less well-funded. It also gives us an opportunity to use this quote engine to go in and ask certain health questions. And for those of us whose bodies aren't doing what we had hoped they would do in our ill-begotten youth, sometimes we become afflicted with diabetes or cardiovascular activity. When we go into this, it gives us the opportunity to ask certain questions about certain conditions and field underwrite appropriately. It doesn't make a lot of sense just to go to the cheapest policy if the person has a health condition that won't allow them to be underwritten into that policy. At 65, it's obviously we're dealing with a guarantee issue circumstance in many cases, but that is something we need to take into account because obviously we don't want to tease people with a program that they can't get. So one of the things that we're seeing in different areas is an approach by an agent to not only show an F or a G, but also other programs that may require a little more out of pocket from the beneficiary and policyholder if they encounter health circumstances that dictate a procedure that asks for that. But it also generally then is very favorably reflected in that almighty monthly premium. So if we were to look at, let's say, for example, a high deductible plan F for that same individual, change the plan choice, well, that individual is going to come out of pocket more than $2,000 additional before any of the coverage is taken into place, hence the high deductible plan F connotation. But you'll notice what the premium does. Boy, the bottom just falls out of it because they're self-insuring for that first piece of coverage. What we are enabling the client and prospect to see is the fact that if they're willing to assume more risk, the premium drops substantially, but we can then also go into some of the programs that would cause a person to encounter those medical expenses. And two of the things that come into play most quickly is a hospital stay that can be covered by a hospital indemnity program or a dealing with a serious illness, cardiovascular difficulties, cancer policies. And by pricing those policies to help take care of that coinsurance, that deductible they're faced with a high deductible plan F up front, gives us an opportunity to put multiple policies into the household, fully cover the individual or as fully as possible, and maintain additional commission for our agency as well. Because let's face it, if we're looking at a high deductible F plan and we've got $29 a month, approximately $30, so we're $12 shy of $360. We're looking at $348 as an annual premium. If the commission was 50% on it, which, trust me, they don't run anywhere near that, our commissions would be very much substantially less than a program that would offer them more comprehensive coverage. So that's something to take into consideration, and we need a person who knows how to deal with a high deductible F plan as well. So sometimes folks will then look at a plan N. And what these programs do is offer coinsurance for different services and parallels somewhat of the coverages that you might see in a typical Medicare Advantage plan. So this might be an individual then that doesn't mind the concept of paying as they go a wee bit, don't mind coming out of pocket in certain circumstances for certain conditions, but they don't want a network that's associated with a Medicare Advantage plan, and they can afford a slight premium for it. We looked at the plan F for these individuals, and it was about $135, a little less. Here we're looking at a circumstance where the individual would pay $83 instead. So we have about a $50 a month savings for those individuals. And as we look at what all that plan covers, we see that there are certain circumstances that we need to be aware of. If they go beyond a year in the hospital, they're responsible for those costs. They're responsible for the additional coverages beyond the first 20 days in a skilled nursing facility. So they have different things that they have to come into play with the Plan A portion of the coverage. And then in Plan B, they're responsible for the Part B deductible and certain co-pays on other coverages. So how can we make this whole for that individual? Well, let's consider one of the things that would drive up their medical cost during the course of the year, and that would be a hospital stay. This then allows us, pardon me for a moment, we're going to illustrate using Aetna. So this will take it purple. This will take the premium over to the left side in a universal compare type of circumstance. And then let's go into a hospital indemnity program for that individual. And pull up some quotes for them. Keep in mind, the cost difference for this individual is around $50 a month, remember. And if we're going to stick with the same carrier, we have an opportunity here to pull in a hospital indemnity program underwritten by Aetna with one of their subsidiaries and go beyond that base coverage of what they're offering for $250 for that program. It gives us the opportunity to then go into additional types of coverage for the program and how to properly explain it. Because if we go with just this base program, we're adding $10 a month on a premium, so we've still got $40 to spare. If we want to go in and make certain that we cover the skilled nursing facility stay, well, we could plug in, let's say $150 a day. We don't need that for the first 20 because those are fully covered. Pardon me for a second. We go into the days 20 through 100 because that's the out-of-pocket that is still subject, they're still subject to, and that adds another $12.74 to the cost of that program. We could also make certain that we add in additional coverages for the daily confinement. And the average stay of a Medicare beneficiary in a hospital is a little over 3 days. So you can add this in. And what we've done is structured a complete program for slightly less premium than they would have if they went with a G or a more comprehensive program. We do with this as well then, so we add in that coverage, we universally compare it, and it tallies it for us on the side. Many of these plans that offer multiple types of programs through the same carrier will do it with an electronic application process where you can do it singularly in one application electronically, so to speak, where you don't have to refill the application for the different programs, which makes it very simple for you to do these add-ons and make certain that we are, if we're using the same carrier, not having to go from plan to plan. That is still an option for many people because they may have their favorites when it comes to the ancillary programs, but it gives you an opportunity to mix and match or stay simple, have them all with one label and bundle products for that individual. Adding dental can make it very simple as well. But as we add some of these programs where one carrier may not offer a full gambit of the different ancillary programs, making certain that we are adept with electronic enrollment with the different carriers will make this so simple for us and will minimize a lot of the time that you would deal with otherwise with making certain that folks have full coverage in your mindset that way. So it gives you then the additional ways of bundling in other coverages, rolling it up here for a simple calculation. So in this circumstance, we've got someone covered with a plan N for their medical. We're adding in dental coverage, and we're doing it at about $40 a month less than if we were offering a plan F program. So it makes a nice difference for that individual. One of the things that we're seeing, and I mentioned it at the top of the presentation, was the fact that many of the programs in the Medicare supplement world are now being offered with a Plan G with a very strong premium discount for only not covering that Plan B deductible. And this will give us an idea then of that same individual where it was $133 with a Plan F. A Plan G is $101, $32 a year times 12. What do we got there? We've got about $384, and that $384 is covering that $183 Part B deductible. So you can see how fiscally we have motivation for a person to purchase a Plan G. It can really save them money. So using the quote engine and the global compare feature that will tabulate these different pieces for you is a great way of going through and making certain that we're using the quote engine, pardon me, to fully demonstrate the different programs that are available to your prospecting client, do it quickly and efficiently in an electronic basis, and you can bundle in different plan types to do so. In many circumstances, as you go into a household for the base Medicare medical coverage, they're looking at the differences between a Medicare supplement and a Medicare Advantage plan. While you cannot show them side to side with this program, technically it's not compliant to do so anyway, it does give you the information to toggle back and forth and help provide the information to your prospecting client so they can make an informed choice based on their own needs. So you've got that option for Medicare supplements. You've got it for the Medicare Advantage and PDP programs, which you'd want to utilize the PDP programs. But if you were to do that in conjunction with a Medicare supplement appointment, you would have to have that scope of appointment completed prior to any part of the presentation. So you want to make certain that you stay within the rules as well. You do have the opportunity to layer in hospital indemnity and dental programs as well. It does also give you an opening to discuss final expense. Our organization does make use of a pre-planning service called Legacy Safeguard, which has a number of experts in our offices that can help you with that marketing program. Be happy to send you to the right people for that. But using the quote tool here does give you a way to open that discussion. Look for a benefit at a certain cost, and then make certain that you can use some of the other programs to help the persistency of that product and do it correctly. Because what someone might perceive as a need of an amount for final expense, it might be completely different if they sit down and go through the categories that contribute to that cost. We have some folks here that can really help you with that planning piece of it as well. So what we've done is used the quote engine to kind of demonstrate the plan choices that you have within the Medicare supplement world. We spoke a little earlier of the different carriers that are out there. Keep in mind, many of these carriers will also offer additional ancillary marketing support that are very, very helpful to you. When you look at the base ancillary products, the things that we see pop up most consistently deal with hospital indemnity programs, HIP programs, critical illness programs, either cancer, heart attack, stroke, and then of course dental, vision, hearing programs. What we see in certain areas as well is dependent upon the state and the regulations that come into play are the introduction of a lot of short-term care products, home health care products, which can be demonstrated as well in combination with a Medicare health program that minimizes cost, gives them premium dollars to address an issue that many folks are confused on when it comes to how Medicare covers long-term care. We all know how they do, or as I should say, don't cover that. And these programs are a great option to cover an individual fully, and once again, gives you an opportunity to speak to the entire range of needs that your prospects and clients have. One of the things that I would very strongly urge for you to do is make certain that if you deal with certain types of certain different types of insurance coverage, that you're doing so compliantly. You can discuss health programs all at the same time if you have the scope of appointment filled. However, you cannot discuss a Medicare Advantage or prescription drug plan in the same meeting for final expense or long or short-term care. You can with a Med Sup, not with Medicare Advantage. That goes back to that earlier slide we had about the regulations that differ between the two plan types. This gives you some additional detail on Legacy Safeguard. If that's something of interest, I want to make certain that our folks that handle that much better than I can explain it work with you to make certain that's part of your overall marketing strategy as well. They have a unique program talking about the postseason game plan that helps you market, use your current activity to help with final expense at different parts of the year as well. Some of the things that we do here at the brokerage that can help you with the brokerage, at the brokerage services that we offer here at Premier is different lead sources. And when you deal with Medicare supplement programs, as I mentioned before, save one carrier, you cannot cold call for those services. However, you can cold call for the base of the vast majority of those programs and use it in a fashion that tailors to the rest of your portfolio as well. And Medicare supplements are an active ingredient in many of the community-based programs and the schematics that we have in place to help you with those folks too. And that includes marketing in different retail opportunities. Many of the Medicare Advantage carriers really push working with Walmart or CVS or Walgreens or a number of other pharmacy chains. And it's important to keep in mind that no one solution exists for all the questions that are out there. Having Medicare supplement in your portfolio and using it appropriately in those circumstances can help in those retail marketing opportunities you may have. We still have some, by the way, so keep that in mind. There are also different programs that we have in place to help market with and through faith-based organizations, and sometimes a base explanation of the different plan types that are available with the standardized Medicare supplement programs can be a great presentation, a group presentation that you can do, or one that you can do as part of a camp at a faith-based organization. And we have the presentations that are approved to help you use that as part of your overall marketing schematic for AEP and moving forward. Many times when we work with providers, in a lot of circumstances, we're thinking about contracted providers with a Medicare Advantage program. Keep in mind, even if a provider is contracted with a Medicare Advantage program, they may not want to have their entire payer mix in one bucket. And having the different plan types is very, very important for you to do appropriate marketing with a provider and making certain that you're properly addressing the choices that their patient base has. Because keep in mind, when someone walks in a doctor's office, they don't just hand them a pill and say, hey, it's good for everybody. They do tests, they ask questions, much as what we do in the examination of our marketing prospects that we have to make certain that we're matching them as closely and most appropriately to the plans that can take care of the needs that they see throughout the year. So in many circumstances, a provider knowing that you also offer a number of Medicare supplement programs that may best address that portion of their patient base can make the difference of you being the marketer of choice of that particular location versus another agent. There are, of course, too, different prospects that are generated by different carriers. And some of it may be as much as, okay, you've done a number of cases with a particular carrier. They know that you are a standardized producer for them, a standard producer for them. They may be able to send you leads they create through their marketing efforts. Or there may be a unique marketing program they have in place that enables you to leverage the production that you've done with different marketing subsidies that they offer through their organization. You'll see a lot of frequent flyer miles, so to speak, with a number of the insurance carriers offering med-sup programs, and that's important to be made aware of. We are getting a lot of traffic as well from different vendors that offer internet leads and leads that are done through their telemarketing pieces or their telemarketing efforts that are live hot transfers. We got a list of those folks that may be an option for you as well. Spending anywhere from $20 to $40 for a lead for something that is a multiple of a return on a sale, $300 to $500 of a commission. That's a swap most of us would make when it comes to investing in our business. And then there are, of course, different mail support programs, direct mail programs that are made available through our organization and directly with some other vendors or carriers that could be a big help to you. When you deal with a cold call list or a customized contact list, this is something that we can make available to you without cost with proper contracting. We can also set you up with different vendors who make those lists available to you at minimal cost. Generally, if you're working with our organization and we have contracts with you, we can help make those available to you without anything out of your pocket. And one of the things that obviously most carriers and marketing organizations will do is ask you to look at the turning 65 population, because it is a big piece of a burgeoning market and a piece where those folks are in need of additional help. Keep in mind, we're all telling you to do that, so there's a lot of pressure on that segment of the market. So depending upon how you time your approach to those individuals, it may well be a circumstance where you've got a lot of competition. What we suggest is maybe look at the 67 or 70-year-olds, because those folks may have experienced a price increase. They don't have as much marketing pressure placed upon them. They're not targeted by the carriers quite as much. They're not pursued as heavily by our brethren in the insurance industry, but it gives us an opportunity for someone then to look for a Medicare supplement review that you can use the quote engine for and be very effective in that marketing. If you are an individual, however, that also pursues other segments of the market with life insurance, annuities, other programs, look at those folks that are turning 70, because what happens right now at 70-and-a-half-year-old individuals? They're subject to that required minimum distribution. They have monies they have to take out and use or address, and those may be funds for you to use with other programs, and you're using a demand product to determine who that individual may well be. Some of the direct mail support that we do through our organization, as you write business with us, we help subsidize the cost of your marketing, and depending upon the volume that you do, well, we do more or less with it. So something to consider. We have 4 preferred vendors that we use because we look to monitor the letter that's going out to make certain that it adheres to different compliance regulations that we're subject to. We do also have a program that helps you put social media marketing on autopilot. It's a program called Coverage Made Easy, and for a small premium a month, you can address the great unwashed on the internet. And this is a good way to do it where you don't have to come up with information all the time, data all the time in order to make it work. They create that for you, subject to your approval, and use the internet to market you as well. Keep in mind, too, that this is a great time of year to make certain that your book of business stays with you as well, and marketing to those folks for a review of their current coverages, which gives you not only an opportunity to keep that product in place, but gives you an additional avenue of cross-selling to those individuals to create additional income streams to your agency. And Statistics have shown that as you have multiple products in a single household, your persistency across all lines is higher than if you have a singular product put in place. We do offer additional training programs that help address some of those grassroots marketing programs that we talked about earlier, how to work your community for grassroots leads, systems to work with faith-based and marketing provider partners, which can go beyond doctors, obviously. Use a demand product like a dental program with dentists to grow your book of business, and that will help. These are just some samplings of the programs that are available to you. They're available 24/7, and we have live events, much as this one, throughout the months as well. As you determine that you have a need for additional ancillary products or other MedSup or other programs, we do have a way for you to simply contract electronically, set up a profile with Insurance Bay, add additional carriers very simply by clicking on the carrier. It autofills the contract for you, helps with that old carpal tunnel syndrome, and makes certain that you fill out the contract not only completely, but since it's electronic, legibly as well. We do offer discounted E&O for our agents as well. This is coverage that goes beyond just the offering of the products that you contract with through us. It goes across the board. So it gives you that opportunity to be a truly independent agent. We do offer discounted means of continuing education programs as well. And it's all dependent upon you. It's important that you determine what is a piece of value to you in your overall marketing program, adding it to your plan, implementing it in play is all important, particularly at this time of year. We want to make certain that we're a valued partner as part of your marketing program, and we want your business and we want to earn it, and we want to make certain that we help you be successful in whatever segment that you take in play. So as part of the follow-up to today's presentation, since we are recording this presentation as well, you will be receiving additional information from us, including a list of the carriers with whom we associate. You can, of course, access that through our website at premiersmi.com, but that will come to you as part of the follow-up for today's presentation as well. And I'm sorry, I've seen a second question here. I want to make certain that I address. And I'm freezing on this here. This is contact information for our folks here in the Dallas office. You can obviously go through our home office in Norfolk, Nebraska. And if you are currently working with a Premier marketer, just dial that 1-800-365-8208 number, ask for that individual, and they'll connect them with you. If you don't have a marketer that you work with now with our organization, please consider one of us, and we'll make certain that we get you the information you need to be a vital part of production for your upcoming open enrollments and throughout the year. One of the questions that comes up on the board is about the continuing education credits, and a lot of that will vary from state to state. But we will also give you a way of accessing that information particular to your circumstance, or as we reach out to you in follow-up, please give us specifics for that so we can answer your questions for you. Pardon me just a minute, I've got another one here. One of the questions that pops up as well is our multilingual capabilities. Yes, Ben, we have folks in our offices that do speak Spanish. Carrie Burnell right here does as well. So the reach her 1-800-365-8208, extension 4143. We'll get you in touch with her, and she is fluent in Spanish. And Pan, we will also get you the information on the approved presentations that we have for grassroots marketing. One of the things that we're finding with many folks that are engaged in retail right now, be it Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, wherever you are setting up a market venue opportunity, it's most helpful to begin to own that territory. So we do different things to make certain that in anywhere from a 2 to 5 mile radius from that location, we help you identify centers of influence, and if there are areas that are probable for a seminar or a camp opportunity, we will make those presentations available to you as well. So that said, I've gone 15 minutes longer than I said I would. My apologies for that, but we want to make certain that we cover everything we need to. A copy of this presentation in PDF format will be made available to you as well. So that will be coming to you. You can reach us once again at 1-800-365-8208 or go to our website at premiersmi.com. Watch for the follow-up. We'll be reaching out to you as well. And we look forward to speaking with you and doing business and contributing to your success in the very near future. Thank you for coming on the line with us today. We appreciate the investment of your time, and we wish you good selling. Thanks so much.